Yo, dude, we're so cooked. We're so cooked. Okay, we're good, Chad. We're good. I've got water, Chad. I've got water. 1 second. This is so brutal. This is so brutal, Chad. How's everyone doing? Give it a second, y'all. I apologize, everyone. We're there. Do y'all hear me? I needed water. I really needed water. And I forgot to grab it. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? We'll give it a second for everyone to join up. Tap that screen, everyone. Danny, I appreciate the hat and mustache. Thank you so much. We are doing our debate against Mike right now, everyone. What's going to get bananaed? I'm confused. What's up, everyone joining up? Only send a guest request. Oh, wait, actually, no. Sorry, I completely forgot. We're just debating Mike right now, everyone. So we don't even have anything else. So we are debating Mike right now. We'll wait for him to send a guest request. I don't see a guest request from right now. Apparently, we were supposed to do it a minute ago. Dean apparently got permaban, chat. That is really, really sad. I don't know what to do with that. It could be related to the topic he's doing. So I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But do give it a second, y'all. Debate on what? He wanted to debate me on like animal ethics, and I also wanted to clear up some stuff from the Vegan Teacher Live. Whatever podcast, they literally canceled day of. It was really weird. They canceled day of. All right, we're waiting for him to send a guest request, everyone. Once they send a guest request, we'll be able to do so. I actually need to pull up Streamlabs real quick. Wrong person. Oops. McLovin, what the fuck are you doing? Wrong person. Hello?
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
What's good? I do hear you.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Pretty good. Thanks
for sure. For sure. So, yeah, to get us started and whatnot, I'm just a little confused here. What do you think is the straw man that I posed on veganism?
Yeah, so I think that the straw man was that you said vegans have to hold to this notion that we have to be perfect, that there's some kind of perfectionism involved with, being vegan. I think that's incorrect. I think not even the vegan teacher held that perspective. I think that you straw man even her position.
Yeah, so I wasn't making a claim that people had to be perfect. What I was making the claim was if they want to minimize the level of suffering as it relates to animals as much as practically possible, given that definition, it would be the case that any type of consumption of food or agriculture that would lead to the deaths of mice, rodents, different types of animals, along with insects, would be a greater amount of suffering than would be acceptable under that position. So I don't see anywhere within that critique there that I would be straw manning the view.
That's a claim you just made. So again, if you're going to say that it's worse to consume these things, you have to say that it is worse. You have to show the empirics for that, right? Your job is to demonstrate with the empirics that it's worse overall, right? The net utility of the world has decreased because of phones or electricity or crop field deaths.
So then I would just ask this premise, right? Do you think that a greater amount of agriculture requires a greater amount of land, and a greater amount of land requires a greater amount of, say, rodents, insects, and mice dying because they exist in those particular areas?
Yeah, it requires your land, but it does not mean that more death will occur, or nor does it mean that there will be a net disutility.
Oh, wait, so net disutility would be running off utilitarianism, 1. 2, if you want to talk about the context of, Megan, I appreciate the subscription. Thank you so much. You saying that there's not more death. You just accepted the premise and then conceded it right away. You said that you thought it was the case that it would lead to a greater amount of deaths, and then you just went back on that. So which premise were you disputing?
Actually, no. I never stated that it would cause a net more deaths. No, I said...
So that was what I was establishing. Do you think that the use of a greater amount of land for agriculture leads to a greater amount of deaths for mice, different rodents and animals?
Not necessarily. That's a claim that you have to provide evidence.
Okay. So to clarify, you don't think increasing the level of agriculture leads to deaths of animals or insects?
Not necessarily.
So increasing the amount of land that you need doesn't lead to deaths of insects and deaths of animals. Just clarifying the view for you.
It could, probabilistically, of course it could.
I'm not talking about could. Do you think it does?
That hasn't, hold on, let me speak. It has nothing to do with net disutility. I agree that depths could be a problem, but when it comes to disutility, it is not. And I'm not even utilitarian, and I hold to more like a threshold deontics perspective. So again, this is why you're strawmanning veganism, even under utilitarianism, because we're not saying that depths are bad. We're saying that net disutility is bad.
Yeah. So again, right, because I'm talking about the consumption past the amount that's necessary for the body. So that would be net disutility from the amount in which would be achieved from just using the level of agriculture necessary to be able to achieve the amount of calories that you would need to survive.
Demonstrate that, because in my view, under my view,
wait, Carrie, I appreciate the galaxy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm clarifying the argument here that you're posing. You're disputing the idea that more land for agriculture leads to death. That's the claim that you're disputing.
No, I'm saying that has not been shown to be true necessarily.
Wait, no. Do you dispute the claim, yes or no?
No. Can I respond?
No.
Dude, you're not being very charitable right now. Just hold on. Listen.
No, I was just making sure you're answering the question, right? Like, do you dispute the claim?
Let me speak. Look,
I am.
Number one, you haven't shown that there's a net disutility. Number two, your job is to show that there's more deaths under veganism. You haven't shown that. It's actually not true. If everybody were to go vegan,
wait, that's not what I'm claiming.
Less deaths by far.
Wait, Mike, that's not what I'm claiming. I actually do agree that from the current system that we have right now, it would lead to less deaths. That's not the argument I'm positing. I'm saying there is a greater amount of deaths than if you were to only eat up to the necessary level of caloric intake. So I'm comparing not to the world that exists now, but to a world that would exist if it was the case that everyone ate to the necessary level of caloric intake.
Yeah,
Mike, that's the view.
Again, under my view, that's not at all what utilitarian even means. So
I'm not talking about utilitarianism at all.
Okay, great.
I was comparing the two views where we're talking about someone vegan world where people are eating necessary. You didn't understand, Mike.
This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. You're letting me talk. You're not letting vegans talk for some reason.
Mike, I don't talk to vegans.
Not every vegan holds to this ridiculous view that you are strawmanning us to view. We're not saying that we're perfect. What we're saying is that there would be a net utility increase. Also, not every vegan is a utilitarian. I'm a more deontics, right? There are many different views you can have. And under my view, there are no rights violations when it comes to crop deaths. So your entire argument is garbage when you assume that we're saying that there's more deaths under crops, or there will be some deaths under crop fields. That's nonsense in the first place.
Okay, so there's a few things we need to go over here. One, I'm not comparing the world we exist in right now in a non-vegan world to a vegan world. I'm comparing a supposed vegan world, right, to another vegan world in which there is a lower amount of crop intake, right, or crop usage, because it is the case that they eat the necessary level of caloric intake. So we're comparing one vegan world where they eat the necessary level of caloric intake. Let me finish. The necessary level of caloric intake to another supposed vegan world in which they eat above the necessary level of caloric intake.
Great.
So again, in the vegan world in which they go above the necessary level of caloric intake, it would be the case that they require more agriculture to be able to do so. What you're disputing, let me finish. What you're disputing is the case that more agriculture, more land to be able to produce this does not lead to a greater amount of deaths. So you think that
that's irrelevant. To go to a world, that's irrelevant.
Mike, you think that if we were to go to a world where there's no agriculture, right, and we were to then decide to create agriculture, that the use of that particular land would lead to no animal or insect deaths?
You got to let me talk, bro. Okay.
I am. I was just finishing the view. You were the one cutting me off.
It's not about number of deaths. It's about net utility. Again, I'm not even utilitarian, and this is the actual position they hold, right? It's net utility. So just because there would be more crop deaths, which is not true, not necessarily true, doesn't mean that it's better or worse. Number two, you have yet to show the empirics that demonstrate that there would be a net disutility under vegan bodybuilding. You have not shown that.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily talking about vegan bodybuilding, but that could be also relevant to the conversation. That's just an example of this
Okay,
particularly.
great. So then show
And if
the
you're going to say
empirics.
that the number of deaths doesn't relate to the overall level of disutility or not, then you can't say that the death would be something that you consider suffering or bad under your worldview, as what is considered utility or disutility would relate to suffering or pleasure, right?
Yeah, who's to say that if you were to eat a surplus of calories that you couldn't do things better off than before? Perhaps you could, if you're being a bodybuilder, you could perhaps, show your other colleagues or bodybuilders and they would go vegan, right? Imagine this butterfly effect happening when more people go vegan bodybuilding, more and more vegans occur, right? So how did you discount all that net utility that could possibly be attained if we were to go vegan bodybuilding?
Yeah, because they could achieve
How did
through
you
other
explain
manners
that
that wouldn't require
possibility?
as much death. That's what your view would be from a
No, it
vegan
is not.
perspective.
This is the straw man you're making. I don't know why you keep
No, no,
doing
no,
this.
no. Mike,
It's
we
not
actually,
about
you,
death.
you completely
It's not
evaded
about the
and
deaths.
disregarded the premise that I established. If we were to exist in a world where there's no agricultural usage, right? And animal natures is just how it normally or typically was, right? Prior to the context of humans like creating civilization and stuff like that, would the usage of any of this land increase the amount of deaths if you were to use it for animal agriculture? And same thing
We
with
don't
insects.
know. Number one, we don't know, and that's irrelevant. I just explained this to you. I don't know why you're not understanding.
And we do know, and I'll explain to you why we do know, but you're disputing this because you don't understand. And the reason is because when we use agriculture, we have to kill insects to be able to continue harvesting the crops. Okay? You would
Okay.
argue they're impeding upon your land and your right to
No,
own
now
this
you're
particular
jumping
property and
topics. Now
distribute
you're
this.
jumping topics. Let me respond to this.
No, that's not jumping.
How do you know that more animals die with crop fields versus wild fields?
Hey, so I was just explaining this, right? It is the case that humans themselves have to,
No,
with the use of
no,
pesticides
no, no.
and other types of things,
Insects die in wild
directly.
fields
Let me
too,
please
sir.
finish, Mike. I can mute you if
You're
you don't let
not
me finish.
understanding.
I am totally understanding. You're cutting me off. Okay, so we have to continually kill insects and kill animals off that land to ensure that we can harvest these crops for our own usage. So that requires us killing them in order to be able to do this. Okay, so that is what we are talking about.
Now,
You're
did you
saying the
demonstrate that it's
intentional killing of animals would be wrong, correct?
Okay. Did you demonstrate there was a net disutility?
I'm asking you a question. You didn't answer it.
Because you're strawmanning it.
Yeah, we're talking about a world where there isn't agriculture versus a world where there is agriculture, okay? Or a world in which there's agriculture for the necessary amount in which we need for caloric intake versus a world in which there's not the necessary amount. If you go anything above the necessary amount, you would be in the world in which there is a greater amount of suffering or
We don't know
disutility
that.
because you
That's
think
a
that
claim you're
suffering
making.
causes disutility
That's
with
a claim
insects
you're
and with
making.
animals.
Parker,
You're saying
that's
we
a
don't
claim
know
you're
this, but you accept the premise that if we were to use this land in the
That's a
first place
claim
and
that requires
continually
variance.
harvest these particular plants, that it would then lead to, right, more deaths amongst insects and animals. I think this is a ridiculous thing for you to dispute.
This
And again,
is
you
so-
already know, Mike, that there isn't empirics as it
This is
relates
so
to these things.
disingenuous. That's
No,
the
you're
claim.
being disingenuous
No,
by
because
consistently
you're making,
cutting me off and misrepresenting my view.
no, because you're making a claim that you cannot demonstrate.
Okay, so again, if you accept this premise, because there is no empirics either way, because I could just ask you this question, you would just be hold up, you would just be at a point where you're agnostic on animal ethics then, because you don't know if it leads to a reduction in utility. Your view is that you want to minimize utility, so you also have right a justification that you have to grant that it leads to a less amount of utility. So you have no empirics on this.
That's
You have
not-
to
I don't
justify
think
on
we
a
should
rational
minimize
basis
utility.
of whether or not you accept the particular premise, right? So all I would just demonstrate here is that you rejecting the premise that it is the case that there's a greater amount of crop death, given the fact that there is a greater amount of usage of these lands, is ridiculous to go
There's
against.
no
Because the
evidence-
process
there's
in
no
which we have to
empirical
continue
data.
to harvest these things at a greater degree
Parker, bro, this
requires
is-
a greater amount of death of them based upon that premise.
Bro, this
Again,
is not a debate. We're not debating. You're just yelling on screen right now.
I'm not yelling. I was just explaining.
So then just let me debate you.
Don't gaslight me, right? I just explained my view one time, and you've been given plenty of time to speak.
Okay, can I talk now? Okay, thank you. Again, you have not shown the empirics. You made a claim. More deaths occur. Demonstrate that claim. If you can't demonstrate it, then you cannot claim that it's true. Secondly, even if there's more net deaths, it doesn't equate to net disutility. So there's two things you have to hurdle. First, before you can even assert that utilitarians are wrong. And I'm not even a fucking utilitarian, right? So again, demonstrate you're right.
I'm not critiquing utilitarianism there. I was critiquing the view that you brought up, one. Two, if you say that more deaths doesn't cause more disutility, you're then saying that killing animals, leading to a greater amount of death of animals, doesn't make it worse. Just restate that in your head again for a second. You're saying the suffering and death of animals isn't bad.
Parker, I'm sorry. You just don't understand normative ethics. It's not the number of deaths, right? It's net utility. For example, if 5 people died and if we had to kill 5 people for something great to happen, for a cure to cancer, that would be something to me that would be good, right? Because there would be a net utility, a vastly large net utility. But that's the point here. It's not about the number of deaths. It's about utility. So your job is to demonstrate that.
What do you mean by utility?
Right, like benefits, right?
What are benefits? Just tell me. What are benefits and what are negatives?
It depends on the context, right? Health, values, all these things. Demonstrate that that the world we
health, values. That was extremely ambiguous. You didn't answer anything there. Nice. That was very vague.
You don't know what utility means?
I'm asking you what you ground as utility, because to me, if you're talking about the overall amount of deaths as it relates to animal ethics, that would relate to utility. So clarify what you mean by utility.
Net benefits. Benefits to a society, right? Benefits to health, the environment, etc. Okay, great. So your job was to demonstrate that there would be a net disutility if people were to eat a caloric surplus. Can you do that for us?
I'm just asking you, under your view, what classifies as utility and disutility. Now, don't just say benefits and negatives to me. Tell me what the benefits and what the negatives are.
Net benefits such as health, environment, economic reasons, right? Those are some versions of net utility in the positive side. The disutility would be like worse welfare, worse well-being, worse health, worse economics. Okay, so can you please address the actual argument now, or are you just going to pivot?
You just again said worse these things. You have to ground. What I'm asking you when I say disutility is, what do you consider worse? Okay, and if you just restate that you think it's worse, I don't know what you're referencing.
Health, economics, environment.
Like what with health? What with health? What with economics?
Yeah, economics. What if a vegan bodybuilder, yes, had a caloric surplus, but then they went on to, for example, make more vegans happen, which would be a net utility increase.
So you're saying pleasure. Okay, so I'm asking you to clarify,
it's not pleasure, it's net utility.
But can pleasure be grounded as utility?
It could be one version, but that doesn't incorporate all net utility.
I'm more trying to clarify what you consider disutility. Like in this sense, I'm asking you like what you consider like worse welfare or worse well-being, because when I hear a greater amount of deaths, I'm seeing a worse level of well-being. To me, that's what it says.
Well, yeah, that's wrong. Right. Just because something dies doesn't mean that it's worse off in terms of suffering or in terms of net disutility. Right.
Oh, sorry. Let me clarify. Like intentional killing.
Like, for example, if one person died for like a cure to cancer, would you do it?
If one person died, I would still do that if it would lead to a greater amount of savings people.
So just death does not equate to net disutility.
Again, that's not what I'm saying. What I was trying to say is overall death. Okay. So we're talking about net death. There's a greater amount of net death. I already clarified that we're talking about a vegan world. We already clarified that we're talking about a vegan world where there's the necessary level of caloric intake by everyone, and a vegan world where there's not the necessary level of caloric intake by everyone.
It still is irrelevant because you haven't shown there's a net disutility. I don't know why this is so hard.
When we're clarifying this, you say that a greater amount of animal death under one world is not a net use disutility comparative to the same world with less animal death. Appreciate the $10. Thank you so much, Paulie.
Yeah, exactly. It would have to show that there's net disutility.
Is that net disutility? The same world, but there's more deaths under one compared to the other. You didn't answer the question.
What if in that world there's more peace and happiness and prosperity?
Oh, okay, so then you're changing the conditions. In that scenario, you could say that it would then hold up, Mike. You would be then changing the hypothetical I just brought up. Appreciate the handout. Thank you so much. I gave you a world where it's the same as the other one. It's just one world. There's a lower amount of animal death comparative to the other one. Again, from the context of agriculture.
Yeah. Again, what we don't know if in that world we can't make it, we can't assess this because we don't know if in that world there was more prosperity and peace because of that caloric surplus.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if there is this caloric surplus due to the context of being able to eat greater than the necessary level of caloric intake, we could have other types of pleasures we just don't know about. So you would be saying that the possible pleasures that we might not know about would be valued over the known animal death.
Exactly. This is the entire point.
Okay, so what types of things you don't know would be valuable on this side would be valuable? Because it seems like if you don't know it's valuable, how could you say it provides utility comparative to the obvious disutility from the intentional animal death?
Prosperity, peace, well-being, more rights, all the above could be net utility.
But we already qualified that we don't know. Okay, so you don't know what the positive utilities are, but you do know what the negative utilities are, or disutilities are.
Yeah, so the fact that you just conceded that we don't know means that you cannot make a claim that there would be a worse utility or be disutility in the world. Okay, great. So then we don't know. That's the answer. We don't know. There could be.
Okay, so what do you mean by no
there
here?
would be net utility.
Sure. So again, based upon the premise that I've already established, under that sense, I think that we could establish that we know based upon probability. But if you think that the only way that we could determine we know here isn't through the context of reasoning, but is rather through the context of empirics, you'd have to be on agnostic on whether or not you're vegan then, because then you wouldn't know whether or not it would create a lower amount of disutility to go from a vegan world in which there is a lower amount of crop usage, the one in which leads to the necessary level of caloric intake, versus the one in which you don't do that. And you have vegan bodybuilders and you have people that can eat as much as they would pleasure to, right? Just so long as it's plant-based. Does that make sense?
Yeah, unfortunately, we actually do know. There's a study called Against Inefficacy Objections, the Real Economic Impact of Individual Consumer Choices on Animal Agriculture. We have empirics that show that our choices can actually impact the environment in the animals in a beneficial way. And we would actually be lowering the amount of disutility in the world. So veganism is by far one of the best things you can do for the animals and for net utility. And there's so much empirics behind this, right? I can show you economic advantages, environmental advantages, ethics advantages. I can show you social benefits, right? We talk about homophobia and all these things. I agree. Veganism can actually aid that. We also can see other types of disease benefits like antibiotic resistance, right? All these things can be a net positive utility by going vegan. And it's just so strong. The utility of veganism is so large that the fact that you're here trying to defend slitting an animal's throat is so embarrassing, actually.
No, so what you're doing there is you're comparing it to a non-vegan world. You're not comparing it to the hypothetical vegan world I brought up, comparing the necessary level of caloric intake versus the non-necessary level of caloric intake. So those empirics are not suited to answer the question I'm asking. They're suited to compare against the non-vegan world, in which I would agree with. Yes, the non-vegan world, right, leads to a greater amount of animal death, leads to a greater amount in the context of nature than would a vegan world. I'm actually not disputing that at all. That's not what I'm actually disputing. This tells me, hold up, Mike, let me please finish. This tells me you're not fully understanding my argument because, again, I've tried to clarify multiple times. I'm comparing a vegan world in which there's a necessary level of caloric intake with everyone to a vegan world in which there's a non-necessary level of caloric intake with everyone. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but it actually is not relevant to the topic because, again, you haven't shown net disutility.
Okay, when we're talking about net disutility, we're talking about from these two vegan worlds, which we do not have empirics on. We do have empirics on the vegan world versus what would be a supposed vegan world, but versus what would be a non-vegan world. And again, I agree. The non-vegan world leads to a greater amount of animal death. Not disputing that. Again, I am talking about these two hypothetical worlds under this view, because if I can critique this and I can say, if you're still willing to accept it, given that you're agnostic, appreciate the subscription, thank you so much, you'd be agnostic on which world would be better. So it seems like the one in which would have a greater level of agriculture wouldn't necessarily be wrong here. That's what I was critiquing here.
Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong. That's why vegan bodybuilding, all these things, eating caloric surplus isn't necessarily wrong depending on your normative framework. It depends on what your normative theory is. Mine is threshold deontology, where I think that it's okay, perfectly fine. In fact, it's a net positive utility for vegan bodybuilders to exist because they spread the word of veganism, right? So in our world, in the real world today, there's so much utility in veganism. And it just, this spills over into many different topics around the world. It is so disingenuous for you to not even bring up the topic and to demonize vegans.
But I never demonized vegans. Actually, we had multiple vegans on the panel. The point of that live specifically was not to argue against veganism. The point of that live was to call out the vegan teacher for saying it's okay to use blackface, for using the N-word in her videos, for condoning the usage of white people using the N-word. Those were the, wait, actually, you look at my, click on my page. Click on my page. She said it. It's on recording. It's literally on my page right now. Don't deny it. It's on the page right now. It's also recorded. So you bullshitting and saying it's not real, literally you can click on the fucking video and see it. So right now, let me finish because I haven't finished my point there.
Great. So
what I just showed you is that it is the case that you then do not base your standard on what is necessary versus unnecessary. That's not what you're putting it on. And if you're not putting on what's necessary and unnecessary, you then have to clarify what your view is because it's based upon what is considered an excessive level. And a non-vegan can just say they don't care about that much. That's what they can say.
Okay, great. So that's where
and there's no justification standard difference.
Look, you have no leg to stand on as a non-vegan and trying to.
You have no leg to stand on as a vegan.
Yes, we do because we are causing that positive utility to the world around us.
Yeah, but that's not what you. That's but utility as it relates to what you consider.
Please, bro, let me speak. The point is, vegans are causing a net positive utility. It would be your job to show that we aren't. And the empirics widely back me up by far. No empirics backs your side up.
So utility would just be relative to what your values are, okay? In the context of this scenario, a non-vegan would just say that their preferences and their values are way more in accordance with what the overall conveniences would be of humans comparative to that of non-humans that do not meet this threshold of rationality amongst their species.
So then go ahead and justify slaughtering animals that don't need to be slaughtered.
Again, we can draw the excessive line wherever we would like. And the excessive line that I demonstrate would be that if it's unnecessary for convenience, if it provides nothing as it relates to that, there would be no reason to do that. And there are other standards I can go off of. That's just a typical one I might use.
Right. So did you justify, I didn't hear you justify slaughtering animals. I didn't hear you give the argument for that.
My view is actually that it's agnostic, right? I'm agnostic on it, right? I don't know whether or not I would consider it wrong. Right. But the question that I would say is that why should I be vegan? Because if there's not a difference from these two different views as it relates to it, and it's based upon the exact same standard, why should I stop eating meat? That's the question I would ask.
Okay. Do you think it's okay to eat people or eat dogs?
Okay. So if you're going to qualify a standard as it relates to people versus humans, I appreciate the win force. Thank you so much. I can easily dispute that because we do not place anywhere near the same level of value on humans as we do non-humans. And I can give a particular relevant distinction, right? Humans are a part of a species in which it meets a particular threshold of rationality. So we could grant greater levels of value as it relates to that comparative to other types of species, right? That is one reason we could give as it relates to that. But I can just give plenty of hypotheticals to demonstrate this, right? For example, right? Do you think that 1 year of animal agriculture in the United States is worse than basically like the Holocaust and slavery together?
Stop.
Appreciate the galaxy. Thank you so much.
So go ahead and show me. So you're saying that it's okay to consume an animal product.
Wait, don't pivot and not answer my question. I asked you a question. It sounds like you didn't answer to it. And listen to it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's irrelevant because value, the entire point of my argument now is.
Wait, what was the question, Mike?
Do you value whatever, people over animals? That's irrelevant.
No, you didn't tell me what the specific question was. What was the question, Mike?
Can I speak?
What was the question?
It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
It doesn't matter. You didn't answer. You didn't listen to the question, Mike. Mike, I'm asking you to listen to the question.
Dude, you're being so.
If you're not going to, I'm not being immature. You're not listening to my question and not answering it. I'm asking you, please listen to the question and respond to it. If you don't listen to the question and respond to it, how are you expecting me to listen and respond to you? Appreciate the win force. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, your question was relevant because value is irrelevant.
It wasn't irrelevant. You were saying that it was comparative as it relates to humans and non-humans as it relates to the human burger versus the non-human burger. That's what you were saying. Dispute that. And not all vegans have to hold to that.
Oh my gosh, relax. I'm not saying that value is irrelevant here. What I'm saying is, do you think it would be morally okay to consume animal
No, that's what you just said. You just said that it was irrelevant. You were just saying the reason why you weren't going to answer and tell me what the question was because it was irrelevant. So you just conceded.
Yeah, no, I did not concede.
You did. It was on video.
What you did was, I'm sorry, Parker, but you just strawman everything I told you. What I said
was the straw man?
Value isn't relevant. And now you're making it seem like I talk about.
You said value isn't relevant?
It's about rights. So again, demonstrate to me.
Wait, Mike, value isn't relevant?
Parker, please.
I'm just
Show
clarifying
me,
what you're saying because
show me the
I want to make
relevant,
sure I understood.
show me the relevant distinction between humans and animals that warrants your slaughtering of animals.
I gave you the reason. I'll extend it again. Right? Humans are a part of a species in which meets a particular threshold of rationality.
Okay, great. So you're saying species and rationality makes it justified. Okay.
Yeah, I grant this
Okay,
species
great. So,
that is sentient, or the sentient members of this species, a greater level of value because their species meets a threshold of rationality.
okay, great. So what if there was a person who was mentally disabled and had the exact rationality of a cow? Would you justify slaughtering that person?
No, because they're a part of a species in which meets the threshold of
great.
rationality and they're sentient.
Great. So cut out the rationality part. That's nonsense. That's fluff, right? At the end of the day, it's species.
Not true. I just told you what it was. The
I-
species
Parker,
meets a
can
threshold of rationality.
Yes, it's species plus rationality. But I just showed you that no matter how rational a person was, you still never hurt them, right? So rationality is
I have a
irrelevant.
separate standard for rational beings, right? Like I grant rational beings a greater level of value, but this is also a conjunction that I hold.
Okay, great. So the point is rationality is irrelevant because you already agreed with me that no matter how rational a person was, whether they were as rational as a cow, you would still not hurt them, right?
No, there are two different standards. One's a conjunction with species and the threshold of rationality, and the other one's just rationality.
I know the conjunction. What I'm telling you
No,
is
there's a conjunction, and then there's a second standard, right? Not the conjunction. The conjunction's one standard. The second standard is of rational beings. So I can value both simultaneously. There's no issue here.
That's what I'm attacking. I'm attacking rationality on its own, independently. I'm showing you that no matter how rational somebody was, you still would never hurt them, right?
Never hurt them. Like I wouldn't try to like
Never
physically hit them or something.
Slaughter them for food if you don't have to.
If they're rational,
No matter how rational they were.
if they're human,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, great.
because they're a part of the species in which meets that threshold of rationality.
I understand. See, what you're saying is no matter how rational somebody was, it doesn't matter. You would still save them. But because they're human, right? So what you're saying is what makes us human is what justifies harming other animals and not humans. The problem is, what if we found out tomorrow that some people weren't actually of the human species? They were a different species. Would that justify killing those people?
Well, what species would they be a part of? And I could grant value to those species.
They'd be called the Loch Ness species or something. I don't know.
I could grant that species value. But like the point I was saying is that, again,
So it's not
the reason
species.
why humans have value, listen, the reason why humans have value is because that species meets a threshold of rationality. So all sentient members of that species get granted that value regardless of whether or not they have rationality, because they have the
because they're a
property
species.
of being human and being sentient, which human is granted value because of the fact that it meets the threshold of rationality.
Let me explain to you.
I was just finishing my view, but you have to constantly cut me off.
What you're saying is that if there was a being who was just like me but had green skin, was a different species, you would still slaughter that person and put them in a gas chamber. Is that what you're saying?
No, because they have these characteristics that I value, and I can grant that species value on a second standard.
What's the other value? The rationality?
Yeah, it would be that their species also meets the threshold of rationality.
What if this was a mentally disabled species? Would you?
So we're essentially just talking about like what if we were to say like salmon, right? Like if they just turned into a salmon.
What if there is a species that looked just like me but had green skin?
Appreciate the inroads. Thank you so much. And they're not rational. None of them are rational. They essentially are like salmon.
Would you slaughter?
But they look like you.
Yep, they look just like me, but they had green skin. They're a different species.
I could grant them value on aesthetic reasons.
Aesthetic reasons.
Yes, you could grant them value on aesthetic reasons, but would it be to the same value as I grant humans? No.
So what you're saying is you're going to
because none of them are rational.
So what you're saying, Parker, is that you're going to go ahead and slaughter somebody, put them in a gas chamber because of how they look.
No, I just said that. I just said that they wouldn't be as valuable. We could still grant that they have a particular level of valuableness. And as it relates to the aesthetic notions, I could say that I value certain things to a greater degree based upon aesthetic preferences. There's no contradiction with that.
Where's your cutoff, Parker, for your fucking for the aesthetic value? Is it a unibrow? If somebody has green skin, you get to slaughter them?
No. Aesthetics, it would be that like they look typically human, right? So if we have like a species in which doesn't look typically human, right? It is completely like they're like globs, right, of slime, right? And these globs of slime are not rational. Would I grant these globs of slime value, right? Probably not,
So
right? Are they sentient though? Maybe I'll grant them greater levels of value if they're sentient, right? Like it
okay,
matters what
great. So
characteristics they
it's
have
not
for me
about
to say
value,
whether or
it's
not I
about
value them to
rights
a
to
greater
live.
degree.
Parker, it's not about value. It's about rights to live. It's do you sufficiently
Well, value
give them
grounds right to live.
it's in other words, do you give them enough value, sufficient value to warrant them, rights? That's all it really means. It doesn't mean how much you value them. And the point here is I'm trying to point out
Wait, whether or not it meets a sufficient level
hypocrisy.
of value. Wait, hold up. Whether or not it meets a sufficient level of value is relevant in saying like how much value does it provide? Does this provide more value than the other one to know whether or not it meets a sufficient level of value?
Yeah, unfortunately, what you just told me is that if they look like a person, then you get to keep them. But if they don't look like a person, then you get to put them in a gas chamber. Is it no matter all else equal? Is that what you're saying?
If what we're talking about is something that is non-rational, right, is not human, right, doesn't meet any of these characteristics, yes, I wouldn't see the reason why you would say no. Like
Okay,
you could say yes, or you could say
so
I'm
where's the
agnostic on it,
cutoff? Where's your
right?
cutoff? So where's
Again,
your
as I
cutoff?
told you earlier, as it relates to the context of non-human animal species, I told you that I'm agnostic on that. I just
Okay,
don't
great.
have a
So
reason to
where's
be
your
vegan.
cutoff?
That's what I would say.
So where's your cutoff between like human and non-human? Where's that cutoff lie?
What do you mean? Where does the cutoff lie? Like in terms of
Like
what
what
values?
exact what exact like aesthetic value would a being have to have for you to not put him in a gas chamber?
Oh, aesthetic value to not put. Well, I mean, again, if we get nothing from putting it in a chamber, right? There would be no reason to put that there, right? If we get absolutely nothing from that, I would consider that wrong, right? If we're putting sentient
Oh,
beings in gas
so you
chambers
agree? So you
without
agree?
reason, if we're going to
So
talk about the
you agree?
context of
Here's
human
the
conveniences and human pleasures, right? You can then bring up the conversation of
so
whether or not it
that
would be
doesn't answer my
for
question,
particular
Parker.
scenarios, whether or not you'd see it to be justified. Again, I've already told you,
That
I'm
didn't answer my
agnostic. I
question.
don't know. I just don't have a reason to be vegan.
It doesn't answer my question because
Okay,
what you're
clarify the
saying is
question
that
then.
if you're going to be agnostic and say, "Oh, I don't know," what you're saying is that there is a specific bodily feature that a being would have that would grant you the right to put them in a gas chamber. I think that's pathetic.
Intuitive based. It would be solely intuitive if we were to have aesthetic
Yeah,
preferences
I
for a
think
greater
that's
level of
pathetic,
value.
right?
Again,
I
I'm
think
not saying the greater level of value then grants that you can put them in the gas chamber. That's not what I'm saying. You're completely changing and misrepresenting what I'm saying. I have never said that. No, you
yes,
would
you
not be
just
able to
did.
put them
Now
because
you're
there's no other standard
reversing.
for what you would get or what would be coming from this.
You just
I've already
said
told you.
it's aesthetic value.
Yeah, aesthetic value can grant greater levels of value. That doesn't mean I'm saying I'm putting one person in gas chambers and not the other. I was just telling you that I grant a greater level of value in certain circumstances based upon particular aesthetic preferences. Like if it looks
So you
human.
haven't answered the question: where's your cutoff when it comes to aesthetic value versus a
I gave
human?
you a typical preference, right? Which again would be the context of them looking human, right? If it looks human,
Where's your
I'm going to
cutoff?
grant a
Where's the
greater
cutoff?
level of value. What do you mean by cutoff?
Where's the cutoff in which a person doesn't look like a human anymore? What feature is that?
Like what feature, right? Again, this is just going to be on a typical sense, the same way that you would judge so based upon like your threshold deontologist, based upon the same way that you'd ground thresholds. Again, there wouldn't be like a particular characteristic if changed, but if we would say that we could ground it in a typical sense, given the fact that they have typical what we consider human feet, right? Human hands, right? Look their face, their body, that's humanoid, right? These are just particular characteristics we might use to
So
say that there
where?
would be a
Okay,
greater
great.
level of value.
So
But
where?
essentially, each of these circumstances is going to rely upon me seeing the data, like what it looks like, and then qualifying
Okay,
based
so-
upon my own standard, whether or not I say it
Parker.
looks
Okay,
human,
Parker.
right? But I
So
can give you typical
essentially-
indicators.
Blah blah blah. So essentially, what you're saying is, if somebody has a specific foot type, then you get to put them in a gas chamber. If they have a specific leg or arm type,
I gave you different things. If they look
think that's
human, if they
ridiculous.
look more, if they're more
That's
likely to look
fucking
human,
ridiculous.
I grant them a greater level of value. I said nothing about the context of
Then where's your
gas
cutoff?
chambers
If you
or
don't
anything
have
like
a-
that.
Parker, if you don't have a cutoff, I'm sorry. This is a pathetic position to hold, in my view. And in the fact that you're going to say, "Oh, I'm agnostic towards this," I think that's very, very disingenuous.
Yeah, so I would ask, what's the cutoff between a mountain you'd climb on and what's it called? You'd climb on and one that you wouldn't.
We're not talking about
Like at what point does it
rights.
become a mountain?
We're not talking about mountain rights. We're talking about animal rights.
No, at what point does it
serious?
become a mountain?
Are you fucking serious?
Well, obviously, I know we're talking about animal rights, but I'm just questioning the idea of if you're justifying, like, you don't need to know specifically when the cutoff is. Because again, if we were to say that, then you wouldn't be able to determine when the cutoff is for what a mountain would be. Again, it's just going to be some arbitrary limit.
The problem is that we're talking about animal welfare. We're talking about rights to sentient beings. Vastly different from fucking mountaintops.
Wait, no, what am I comparing? Mike, don't be dumb. What am I comparing?
You're comparing a mountaintop to a cow or a
No,
sentient
what I'm comparing is where do you draw the cutoff, and can you even identify a cutoff? And if you can't identify a cutoff, does it mean that you're engaging in some sort of reasonable error?
I agree that it's not always possible to point to a cutoff, but that the entire point.
Wait, so then you just conceded?
No, the entire point of your argument is that it's a pathetic position to hold, such that you would think that there was a specific structure that would grant you the right to put somebody in a gas chamber. That's what I'm.
That's not what the view is, right? That's not the view. I never said anything about gas chambers.
Well, that's what you think it's okay to do to a cow.
That's not. I'm not granting that based on a cow, based on aesthetic preferences. I granted that solely on the basis of. And again, I never even actually, I didn't grant that. Let me say this. I again said I was agnostic on it. Right? You're confusing me with how much you're going over it. I literally have clarified multiple times I'm agnostic on it. I've said nothing about gas chambers actually.
Right, but do you think it's okay to put a gas or put a pig in a gas chamber?
I don't know. I'm agnostic.
You're agnostic. Do you think it's okay to put a person in a gas chamber?
No.
Okay, great. So what's the morally relevant difference between those two beings that justifies putting
So again, the morally relevant difference is that one is a part of a species in which meets a particular threshold of rationality.
We just went over this. This is the point. This is how circular your position is, right?
This isn't circular.
I don't know. You don't have.
Wait, I didn't give you an I didn't know there. I answered.
Consistent ethical framework. That's the.
I do. I just gave you a consistent ethical framework.
No, you did not, because what you said is.
What are you talking about?
Because what you just said is I don't.
I said I don't know as it relates to the context of whether or not it's okay to put pigs in gas chambers. I don't know, right?
Yeah, you can't
I'm still considering that view. What I'm saying is I don't have current reason right now to be vegan.
Well, if you can't point out the difference between pigs and animals in any morally relevant way,
then I told you. I actually just told you the relevant difference.
No, you didn't. You said it was.
Yes, they were part of a species.
Look, when we got to the.
Mike. I gave you. You asked name the trait. On name the trait, I specifically gave you that humans. They're part of the human species, which meets a particular threshold of rationality. That is a relevant difference for name the trait. The other conversation about whether or not it's okay to put pigs in gas chambers, that's a separate question. That is not name the trait.
No, it is exactly the same question, because the fact that you value this animal in such a way would grant you the right to do these things to these animals. That's the point of this entire debate.
Wait, I haven't even grounded that we would necessarily say that it's wrong, right, or that it's right. I said I'm agnostic on these particular ethics. I don't know.
Right. You're agnostic.
Right? I do know about the name the trait. I know what the trait difference is between humans and non-humans.
Right. But the fact that you can't point out a difference between these two beings means there's some kind of. What you did, but the problem
Mike, you're straw manning me. I've given 5 or 6 times what the name the trait is. I've given it to you 6 times, Mike.
I got to be able to explain it, right? You say you pointed out a difference, but then when I hounded you on it, what you said is, I don't know. I'm agnostic, right? That to me indicates that your position is pretty much inconsistent, because you don't have a consistent ethical approach to this. So again, if you're going to say, I don't know, well, that means you're not, then you think it's okay to put a pig in a gas chamber. And then you have to justify that.
No, I don't know. It doesn't mean it's okay. But listen, when you say, I did name the trait specifically, right? I brought it up when you're talking about pigs let me finish. When you're talking about pigs in gas chambers, that's not name the trait, okay? And you're saying I don't have a consistent ethical approach. What is a consistent ethical approach? Are you talking about like generalism versus particularism?
No, I'm talking about the notion that you think it's okay, or it doesn't seem to be just. It doesn't seem that there's a reason why I should be vegan, right? That entire point means that you don't have a justification for harming these animals. And it seems like, from my view, you should have a justification. And if you don't, I think that's a bad position to hold.
Okay, so my point is that I don't know whether or not it's wrong, but if, like, for example, right? I'm not going to have to provide. Let me finish. I'm not going to have to provide a reason as to why it's justified for me to engage in every behavior. I'm going to engage in behaviors until I have reason to consider them wrong. That's the view.
So if you're going to say I don't know, then let's
Yeah, and I'll engage in the behaviors until I have reason to consider it wrong.
Look, my job here is to point to get an answer from you, right? To see what you're saying. If you're going to say, I don't know the entire debate, why the fuck are we debating here?
I didn't say I don't know to everything. I said I don't know to one question.
So then answer the question honestly, right? Where's the cutoff from a human and non-human? That what characteristic justifies slaughtering those animals in the gas chamber?
I'm agnostic on the gas chambers question, but if we talk about name the trait, what is the difference between humans and non-humans that grants humans more value than non-humans? Again, all humans are part of the species in which meets a particular threshold of rationality. I've said that to you now 10 times, Mike. How many more times do you need me to answer the name the trait?
The problem is you haven't answered it correctly or honestly.
I did. I honestly did. I did, Mike. You're actually just being dumb here. You're literally just being dumb. Okay? Don't be dumb because you get mad that I'm against your vegan ethics. That's literally it, right? I just don't know whether or not I hold to it. You can give me reason to hold to it, but don't sit here and get mad at me and say I'm making some reason error when I'm not making any reasonable error.
So now you're going to bully people on your live.
I'm not bullying anyone. Mike, every day you go on live and you bully theists. What are you talking about? You bully theists every day on live.
How do I bully theists?
Mike, are you kidding me, Mike? You literally go on live and you make fun of theists consistently, right? You make fun of them. You say that.
Give me an example.
Oh, okay. So again, on live all the time, you make fun of theists by going up and portraying yourself as a theist. You have a satire account where you go on live and you literally
somebody. How is that bullying?
Wait. Based upon you were making fun of them, right? That's bullying on your definition.
I'm not making fun of people. I'm making fun.
You're making fun of Christians.
No, their religion.
You're making fun of Christians, though. Not only is it their ideology, but you're making fun of the way that they act.
Who am I making fun of in particular?
You're making fun of the way that they act, right? I can literally show you the videos in which you make the way of the fun that they act. You're not just making fun of the way that they believe things. Like, for example, particularly like with Muslims, right? You'll give like the particular phraseology that they use, right? This isn't related to any of their beliefs or critiquing their beliefs. Lydia, I appreciate the galaxy. Thank you so much. This is just related to the things that they say, like wallahi, or they say, I appreciate the glowing jellyfish. Thank you so much. Or different types of things like that. Those are behaviors that they have, not belief systems. You're not critiquing the belief systems. You're critiquing the behavior. So for you to sit up here and for you to question that somehow I'm bullying when I was just calling out the particular behaviors that the vegan teacher was expressing is fundamentally ridiculous.
You haven't shown me actually where I bullied somebody.
I gave you the particular circumstance, right? You literally will make fun of particular things that Muslims will say, right, as it relates to like peace be upon them, things like that.
Somebody? Can you give an example?
Well, you're making fun of it.
Give an example of something.
What do you consider bullying? Mike, do you consider bullying? What do you consider bullying?
Give an example of somebody I bullied.
I don't know the particular person. I'm just giving you an example of the behavior that you've expressed.
Give an example.
I just gave you an example multiple times, right?
Give me a specific example where I bullied somebody.
I did, right? You specifically, what do you consider bullying first? Because I just gave you multiple things, but what do you consider bullying?
Somebody, calling them derogatory remarks.
So just calling them derogatory remarks, not making fun of them wouldn't be considered bullying under your view?
For no good reason.
Making fun of them wouldn't be considered bullying?
How did I make fun of somebody?
Again, you make fun of the particular terminology that they use by laughing about it and joking about it by using your satire account to make fun of Muslims and Christians. You're making fun of their I'm still finishing. Making fun of their behaviors.
Behaviors?
Yes, I told you. I gave you multiple examples.
Okay, great.
Would you like me to show you?
Is that behavior somebody?
Do you want me to show you? I can also bring up vegans that will say the same thing, that you also bully people on this app.
Some person.
Mike, you want me to literally show you the videos?
No, can you please explain?
Mike, I will literally show you the videos.
Somebody.
I will show you the videos. They're on your account.
Of me bullying somebody? This is really embarrassing, Parker.
Yes.
Yet you had people on your live before with the vegan teacher.
Do you want me to give you examples?
Calling her disgusting remarks.
She was literally using the N-word and say it was okay for white people to use the N-word. You don't think that's racist? It's okay for people to use blackface. That's not racist?
No, I don't think
that's what she said. That's what she said multiple times on the live. It's on my videos. You can check the videos. I'll play it right now. Do you want me to play the video?
No, stop. If she said
no. Do you want me to play the video?
What's the context in which she said it? But more importantly,
what context justifies using the N-word?
Look.
What context justifies a white person using the N-word?
I never said there was a context.
Here, do you want me to show you the video?
No, I believe you.
I believe saying the N-word. People say it all the time. Mercy. It's a word. There's nothing wrong with saying a word. We're cooks. When they call me that in my lives, I say thank you for the compliment.
Stop talking. Stop talking. Listen to the whole video before you cut it off. I'm going to show you both of these videos. I want you to be Mike. I want you to be quiet during the whole time when I show these two videos.
Where's the racism?
Can I show these two videos? I will show you.
Where's the racism?
Oh, using the N-word isn't racist? White people using the N-word isn't racist?
If they use it in regards to some person, that's racist, of course. But she never.
White people using the N-word in general, is it racist?
Parker, when did the vegan teacher ever use that word in a derogatory way?
Any usage of a white person using the word is derogatory.
No, that's not what I asked you, Parker.
That is, any usage is derogatory. Her using the word is derogatory. She used it as an acronym. She used the N-word as you want to hear it?
Yeah, it's a fucking acronym.
Do you understand
I know
what I'm doing there? Did you actually watch the video with your brain intact? I'm literally saying that racism is wrong in that video. Are you able to get that message?
By using the N-word.
Well, did you use the N-word?
Did you see the video?
Hard R.
Answer the question, yes or no. Did you use the N-word?
And then she made it into like an acronym. Honestly,
I made it into an acronym.
Listen to me. Work apart.
Listen to me. Can I speak for 1 second? My daughter is married to a black man.
That's her justification? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's because...
Where is the racism? Can you show me?
Let me finish.
If she is
I already watched this shit. It was disgusting.
Well, I'm playing it for the live.
Well, I'm sorry, but
Mike, I will mute you.
Your case.
I'm going to mute you, Mike, because you're being ridiculous. Let me finish the video. Mike, stop talking. I will kick you from the live if you don't let me finish. Okay? Let me finish. Are you being that insufferable? You're like literally a person coming up on my live being insufferable, not letting me finish a fucking thing.
Now you're going to bully me.
I'm not bullying. I'm just telling you that you're being insufferable. That's not bullying.
Then where's
can I please show you the video?
Where's the racism there?
Mike, can I show you the video?
I already saw.
If you don't stop talking, I'm going to kick you from the live and then I'll add you back once you can let me finish the video.
Wow, bro.
It was an acronym
so embarrassing.
where the N stands for...
No, that would just make it okay for people to call them that. It wouldn't make them feel better.
Can I speak?
It would incentivize people calling them that.
Naturally intelligent, gorgeous, generous, exemplary, and radiant.
What was racist? Her using the N-word and making it into an acronym. Her then saying in a live this, Mike, let me finish. I told you I was showing you 2 videos.
So there's nothing wrong with a white person saying the N-word?
People say it all the time.
Mercy.
It's a word. There's nothing wrong with saying a word.
We're cooked.
When they call me that in my lives, I say thank you for the compliment. And that's it. It's done.
No racism detected for Mike.
Where's the racism? Where's the racism?
Really? Where's the racism, Mike? Where's the racism? White people saying the N-word isn't racist, Mike.
Show me where she was racist.
I just showed you. I literally showed you. Her saying it's okay to use the N-word is racist.
Where is the racism there?
Her saying it's okay for white people to say the N-word is racist.
It's a word. The problem is when
say it then. Say it then, Mike. Say it.
No,
say it, Mike.
It's usage.
No, you won't say it. Why won't you say it, Mike?
It's the usage. I will not say it because people are sensitive, right? Of course.
Oh, just because people are sensitive, right? That's fucking ridiculous.
Can I speak? Okay.
No, when you're justifying white people using the N-word, that's fucking ridiculous. Regardless of whether or not you're a vegan, you don't have to hold this view. It's not sensitive to be against white people using the N-word.
I can't believe this. Look, saying a word is just a word. The usage is the issue. And when somebody uses the word in a negative way, that's wrong to me, of course. But the vegan teacher was not using it in that way. And that's why there was no racism there. And the fact that you try to pinhole her into this negative assertion is ridiculous. So can you justify where the racist remark was?
Okay, if a white person is engaging in blackface, right, but they're not doing so in a manner to make fun of black people, is it wrong?
Right, it's wrong if they do it in a derogative way, of course.
If they're doing it in a way in which it is the case that they are not trying to make fun of people, right? Is it okay for them to do blackface?
You can have black makeup on. That's perfectly okay.
Do you think it's okay for people to do blackface so long as they're not trying to make fun of black people?
Is it wrong to put makeup on?
Answer the question. Is it wrong to?
No, it's not.
It's wrong to do blackface. It's wrong for white people to do blackface. Yes.
It's not wrong to put makeup on. Okay.
It is wrong for white people to use blackface, regardless of whether or not they're trying to be mean.
If it's wrong if they're doing it for the purposes of hate and bigotry, that's wrong.
Okay. So a white person using blackface, as long as they're not doing it in hate, that means that it's okay for you.
Yeah. What if somebody's using black?
Yeah.
What if somebody has stop this garbage?
What do you mean this garbage? You just said it was okay for white people to do blackface.
What if somebody
Richard the Galaxy, thank you so much.
I did not say that necessarily. What I'm saying is, what if somebody has black makeup on? Is that wrong?
Black makeup and black face are 2 different things, right? Using black makeup as it relates to that is not putting black makeup as your whole face to portray yourself as a black person.
Stop. Is it wrong to you to put black makeup on?
No, because you're not trying to portray yourself as a black person when you're not.
That's my point. It's not wrong to put black makeup on. Is it wrong?
You're trying to portray yourself as a black person.
Exactly. No.
That's why it's wrong.
That's not necessarily the case.
Oh, okay. So you don't think, okay, again, you don't think blackface is wrong in that scenario?
It could be for a play.
No, the black makeup, we're just talking about like if you were to do mascara, not if you're about to put on your entire face. Black makeup on your entire face, that's wrong. Absolutely, if you're white. Absolutely, that's wrong.
You just agreed that it's perfectly okay to put black makeup.
Wait, I thought you were talking about mascara.
Okay, great. So if I put black makeup here and here, that'd be still immoral?
Yeah, that's racist, yeah.
How is it racist?
Because you're doing blackface.
No. Blackface is in the context of like being dishonest or being...
You're trying to portray yourself as a black person. That's what you're doing.
No, that's actually not the case, right? What if I'm at my house and I just put black makeup on my face?
You put yourself as a black person.
No.
Okay, so I'm talking when you're portraying yourself as a black person.
Okay, great. So then you agree there are contexts which you can put black makeup on.
Not in manners in which to portray yourself as a black person.
Okay, great. But you agree that there are contexts where you can put black makeup on if you're not.
Yeah, like if you're using mascara, yeah.
Yeah, what if you're putting it on your cheeks and your forehead?
If you're trying to portray yourself as a black person, no.
But what if you're not doing that? It's okay then?
If you're doing like a charcoal face mask, that's different. Right? Because the charcoal face mask isn't to portray yourself as a black person. Right? We were talking about blackface.
You agree.
Wait, let me finish. Let me finish, Mike. Let me finish. We're talking about blackface where you're intentionally literally putting makeup on your face to portray yourself as a black person, as a costume.
I agree that's wrong. I agree that's absolutely wrong.
Wait, no. Okay, even if they're not trying to make fun of people?
If they're just doing it in their house and they're doing
it as a costume for Halloween, but they're not trying to make fun of people.
This is.
I was just clarifying the question, Mike.
Yeah, I'm trying to clarify for you. Look, if somebody is in their home or like for doing a show or something and they have black makeup on their entire face, I think that's perfectly okay. Now, if you're going to use that in a negative connotation, that is wrong to me, absolutely. But you have still yet to show where exactly the vegan teacher was racist. And then you have to justify slaughtering animals, which you haven't done yet.
Again, I told you I don't know as it relates. I already gave you my answer to that. But like specifically as it relates to the context of blackface. Again, hold up, Mike, let me please finish. You were crying on this entire live about me not letting you finish. Right? Unbelievable. Right? If we're going to talk about this, you are saying then it is okay for a white person to put on makeup, black makeup, as a manner to do blackface, as long as they're not making fun of black people.
That's wrong.
Wait, no, let me finish the entire question. Is it wrong for a white person to put on makeup on their face to portray themselves as a black person and not in a manner in which they are trying to make fun of people?
If they're putting makeup on their face for a show or a play, I think that's perfectly okay.
But can you answer my specific question? If they're trying to portray themselves as a black person.
I just did. If you're putting black makeup on for, your house or whatever, I think it's perfectly okay.
You're just doing blackface at your house? Like, Mike?
No, it's not blackface. It's just makeup.
What? I'm talking about blackface.
Stop
changing my question, Mike. I'm asking, is it okay for someone to do blackface who's white?
Blackface is always wrong, obviously. But when it comes
we're always wrong. So it's always wrong for a white person to say the N-word.
Depends on how you use it.
Oh, it depends? Really?
Yeah.
Depends?
What if you...
Give me a context in which...
Look, words don't have meaning. They have usages, right? If you're going to use the word in a negative way, that's always wrong to me.
How about this? You're in a car by yourself and you scream the N-word and you're white. Is that wrong?
It depends on how you're using it. And in the way that...
No, I gave you the context. Someone's sitting in their car alone and they scream the N-word out of anger. Is that wrong?
I would say that's wrong because people could be sensitive to that. Because people could be sensitive to that.
Wait, no one's around.
Well... If nobody's around, then it's okay to just say a word. It's just a word.
So it's okay to scream the N-word as a white person as long as you're by yourself.
Just a word. The problem is how you...
It's just a word!
Yeah. Do you think words have meanings?
Dude, I swear, like, people who are like 10 years older than me just don't get this. I don't know what it is, right?
No, Parker, the problem is that you're not understanding that words don't have meanings. They have usages. And depending on how you use them, they're wrong. Now, let's get back to the debate here.
So again, to clarify, a white person screaming the N-word in the car that's angry by themselves is wrong.
Bro, it's just a word.
It's just a word, bro. Yeah, that's racism, okay?
How?
A white person using the N-word in that context is absolutely racism.
Where's the racism?
The white person saying the N-word.
Yeah, where's the racism in a word?
They're saying the N-word. Say it then.
Where's the racism in a word?
Say it then.
No, because people are sensitive. Where's the racism in a word, though?
They're using the N-word.
Where's the racism?
Wait, so Mike, let me ask you this question. When we get off the live, can I video call you and you'll say the N-word in the live?
Yeah,
I mean, in the video call?
Where's the racism there?
No, Mike, when I get off this live, we can FaceTime call. Will you say the N-word to me?
Yeah, where's the
Appreciate the money gun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so where's
the money gun? Will you say it to me on a FaceTime call, Mike?
Yeah, so where's the racism?
Yeah, you will?
No,
appreciate the money gun. Thank you so much.
Where's
You'll say the N-word to me on a FaceTime call.
No, because people are sensitive if I say it.
Wait, no, but it would just be me and you.
No, Parker, in the context of
Mike, you said it's just a word. Why won't you do it?
No, because it depends on how you use it. Now, if you're going to say it, Mike, say it. Well, of course, that's going to be wrong because now you're going to...
No, on a FaceTime call with me and you.
Parker, please listen and relax. We both agree here. It's wrong to use the word in negative ways. The problem is that everything is just words. The problem is how you use it. Now, I will not say it because people are sensitive to it, and I think it's a bad word to say here on lives or in the context of situations like this, where people are listening in and are sensitive. But words are just words, and you haven't shown yet where the vegan teacher was racist or anybody here was racist. Number one. Number two, you haven't shown your justification for putting animals in gas chambers yet. I'm waiting for that still.
Okay, Mike, I've already told you I'm agnostic as it relates to that. And again, I told you, Mike, on a FaceTime call, will you say the N-word to me after this debate?
No, I just said no.
No, but it's just me and you.
No, the problem is that you're going to record that and put it in the wrong context.
No, I will literally sign a contract. I will literally sign a contract. I won't record it.
That's the reason.
I'll sign a contract, Mike.
It doesn't matter. I was still
Mike, I will sign a contract that I won't. Will you say it?
No, because you're sensitive.
No, okay, so then what? It's just a word though, Mike.
Because if I use it in front of you, you'd be sensitive to it.
Okay, so only because I was so if I wasn't sensitive to it, you do it?
Exactly.
Okay, so if I can get racist from the comment section, stop with them and say it to them?
No.
Oh, but they're not sensitive to it, Mike. They're not sensitive to it, Mike.
Because that would be used in a negative way.
Wait, no, but you wouldn't because again, they're not sensitive to it.
In a negative way.
If you just say the word, how is it? Okay, wait. That's my point. It's always negative for a white person to say the N-word. You just made my point, Mike. Mike, you just made the point.
Parker, look, this is such a reach.
Again, how is this a reach?
I'll probably never feel comfortable saying that word because of how sensitive people are to it. That's why I will never say it. However, words are just words at the end of the day. Number two, you haven't shown the racism involved with the vegan teacher. Number three, she said
the N-word. She justified blackface, and she literally used the N-word on a video.
Okay, great. So in what
That's not racism to you, Mike. That's just sad.
So in what context was she racist?
I just gave you the multiple contexts. I gave you the videos. I showed you everything, and you're still sitting here justifying, saying she's not being racist there.
Show me the exact racist.
Showed you the video.
Context, right? Show me the.
I showed you the video.
No, I saw the video already. I'm looking for where the exact racist part was.
That I just told you, right? Her using the N-word as an acronym. Of white people saying the N-word, and again, her justifying the usage of blackface.
So why was it acronym racist?
Because she's using the N-word.
Why was that racist?
And she's white.
Why is it racist?
A white person saying the N-word is always wrong.
Why is that racist?
I just told you. I said, I think that a white person saying the N-word, right, is racist in this context.
Why? Why is it racist?
Again, I've just told you that it's defined as racist. That's literally just applies to the definition.
Why is the word racist?
Because it's a white person using a term in which has historically been used to oppress people.
Why is that racist?
Yeah, you're just really asking why it's racist for white people to say the N-word.
Why is it racist in that context?
Yeah. Again, I just think that's crazy, right? Again, what is racism?
You said it.
Mike, what's racism?
Being derogatory to a certain race.
Okay. Is it derogatory?
Why?
Is it derogatory for white people to use the N-word?
Depends on the context. If you're going to
some context. So a white person screaming the N-word at the top of their lungs out of anger by themselves in a car is not derogatory.
I think that is derogatory depending on people listening in. That could be sensitive.
Wait, no one else is there. It's just them.
Okay, great. Then yeah, I would agree that if nobody's there and it's just a word, it's just there's no racism there.
Okay, screamed the N-word in a car by themselves.
Show me where vegan teacher was racist. You have yet to.
That's what I think is racist, Mike.
Why? Why is it racist?
I just told you. It is a white person using the N-word.
How was the vegan teacher racist?
It's a white person using the N-word.
How was the vegan teacher racist?
I just told you.
So every time I say a word, like the N-word, that means I'm racist automatically?
If you're a white person using the N-word, yes, I think it's racist.
So in every context, even someone that
yes, I think yes.
Like me, even someone who's not racist like me, and I said the word, it would be racist to you?
You are racist. Yeah, in that context. Yeah, absolutely.
How am I racist if I'm just saying a word?
You just use the N-word. You're white.
Why does that mean I'm racist?
Again, that is literally just under the definition of the term. I consider it prejudice for white people to use the N-word.
If I say a word.
Okay, right? Again, you're just so
sense.
Again, this all just comes down to you saying it's not racist for white people to say the N-word. So after this live, right, will you make a promise with me to by yourself say the N-word?
Yeah, Parker. So again, you haven't
because apparently there's no one sensitive there to it.
You haven't shown the context.
So again, the context in which someone who's mad in the car by themselves screams the N-word.
In what context was vegan teacher racist?
I just told you multiple times, but let me give you another hypothetical to demonstrate this.
By saying the word.
Yeah, she's racist by saying the N-word, absolutely. And I'll give you an example I'll give you an example to demonstrate this. For example, Mike, for example, right, a person, right, sees someone on TikTok, right, that is black, right? They're still by themselves, they're not in a call, no one can hear them, they're not in a live, they scream the N-word at the top of their lungs. Did they do something racist?
If people are around watching, absolutely they're racist.
No one's watching. I just told you no one's watching.
If nobody's watching and they just use the word with no intention to harm anybody, or
when they're looking at a black person, yes,
that's wrong. Obviously.
Wait, why is it wrong, Mike?
Because you're looking at somebody.
Wait, but it's not using it towards someone. You're just looking at someone.
If you're just going to say it to yourself in your bedroom, is that racist?
Yes.
With no intention of being racist. That's
yes. I don't care if you have an intention. It's absolutely racist. That's
contradictory.
How is that contradictory?
Because you're saying you have no intention.
Name the contradiction, Mike.
Can I explain something? You're saying it's racist, but then it's not racist because the person's not having any racial intentions to it.
Wait, that's not the way I'm defining racism. So you just engaged in equivocation. Great.
That's not
I never use racism based upon intent. I actually clarified multiple times in this conversation that me using the term racism is not necessarily in the context of someone intentfully being that way. So you just disputed, right? Not my definition. You just said I engaged in a contradiction when you engaged in an equivocation fallacy, Mike. Nice reasoning.
Yeah, the problem is that if there's no intention to be derogatory towards somebody, it's not racist at all.
Dude, so yeah, a white person scrolling on TikTok sees a black person, screams the N-word. If they didn't mean to be racist, you don't think they were racist?
That was a clear, obvious case.
Wait, no, but if they said they didn't mean to be racist, they just said it.
If they just said it and they were not being, and there was no intention at all to be derogatory, that's perfectly okay. It's just a word.
A white person sees a black person, screams the N-word, and it's not wrong to Mike. Like, that's crazy, dude.
If they had no racial intentions there, I think that's perfectly okay.
If someone had no racial intentions in enslaving a black person, was that wrong? Or was that racist?
That's what racism means, right? Racism means...
Wait, if someone had no racial intentions in racist.
Look, racism means like you have like a derogatory attitude towards somebody, right? Obviously, that's never okay to me. But it's just a word at the end of the day. Right. If I said blah, 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 or what if somebody had Tourette syndrome and they said the N-word, would that make him racist?
So again, in this particular scenario, right, they didn't intentionally say the word specifically, right? Whereas the person who is saying the N-word in the other circumstance did intentionally say the words.
Point.
No. One person's intentionally being racist, where the other person did not intentionally say the words.
Thank you. And let's get back to the fucking topic.
Mike. There's a complete difference there. Let me explain what the difference is.
No, it's
Mike. Can you please listen to me? Stop cutting me off. Stop cutting me off, Mike. Okay, I'll just mute you, right? In one scenario, they didn't mean to say the words, right? In the other one, they did mean to say the words. That's the relevant difference, Mike. Did that make sense, Mike? What did I just say?
Thank you for conceding me to my point.
What did I just say, Mike?
Great. So
what did I just say, Mike? Tell me what I just said.
Back to the topic. They didn't.
Mike, tell me what I just said.
They didn't intend to use that word.
What was the difference between the two?
There is no difference. That's the point.
You understand the point. I just explained it to you. Listen, use your ears, Mike. Use your ears. I know you don't have to reason much when you talk to theists, but listen here, right? It is the case. In one scenario, they meant to use the words. In the other scenario, they did not mean to use the words.
Yeah. So if somebody's looking at the screen, they just have the urge to say the word, right? Because they have Tourette's or some kind of other disorder.
I'm not talking about Tourette's. I'm saying someone intentionally uses the words.
Yeah, right. But if they just had some kind of like mental like reason for doing that, just randomly, it would be okay to you, right?
No, because they intentionally use the words.
No, they didn't intend to do it. It was random. Like it was just a random response.
If they have Tourette's, then no.
Okay.
They did not intentionally use the word.
There's exactly. So there's no intention, then it's perfectly okay to you. Now let's get back to
No. The difference is that one intended. No. Mike. We're talking about differences in intentions. You're equivocating. I'm saying intention to say words, and you're saying intention to be racist. So they can still engage in the action without intention to be racist, and it's not bad for you. Whereas for me, if they intended to use the words, even if they did not intend them to be racist, I can still consider it wrong.
Exactly. So I agree. So now let's go back.
No, you don't, because if you agree on that, then you'd agree that she was being racist.
No. Look, let's go back to the topic at hand. You already conceded to my point that it's not used to.
I didn't concede. You literally said it's okay for white people to say the N-word. You said it's okay for people to use blackface so long as they're not trying to be derogatory.
I never actually said that blackface word, but you
did. You actually did, Mike. I have this recorded, Mike.
Okay. Well, if I did, I was mistaken. If somebody had.
Okay. Well, we were talked about it for a bit. So
now the funny thing is, you have yet to justify slaughtering animals.
I told you I don't know.
Okay, great. Now, would that be a good justification? Like if I went to grape somebody.
I'm not justifying it.
Parker, listen to me. If somebody raped somebody and their justification, what they said was it wrong? And they said, I don't know. I don't know. Would that be okay to you?
Well, I have reason to consider it wrong, Mike.
Okay, great. No, I'm talking about the person who committed the crime, right? Like if somebody committed a crime.
That's what their view is. I have a different view.
Look, if somebody committed a crime and their view was, well, I don't know why it's wrong, but I just did it. Would that be okay?
No, it wouldn't.
Okay, great.
So because I have reason to consider what they did wrong. Appreciate the handout. Thank you so much.
So then under your,
No.
You're doing the same thing that the rapist is.
No, I'm not, because you don't have reason for me to be vegan.
You're raping animals.
Give me reason to be vegan.
You're raping animals.
Give me reason to be vegan.
Do you think raping animals is okay?
I don't know if it's wrong to kill animals. I think it's wrong to grape animals in plenty of context. I appreciate the handout. Thank you so much. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong to grape animals across the board as it relates to humans. I think it's wrong to wait. Hold up. I literally just answered the question. I think it's wrong to rape animals across the board.
Okay,
right?
great. So then why do you do it?
I think it's wrong to.
So then why do you do it? Then why do you do it?
Again, because when we're talking about that action, we're talking specifically, right, outside of the context of reproduction. If we're talking specifically like artificial insemination of different types of animals, I consider that, right? I would say I don't consider that anything. I don't know, right? But as it relates to, say, right, humans trying to get pleasure off of graping animals, I consider that wrong in all scenarios.
Okay, great. So would you say that it's okay to breed humans for consumption and grape them? Would that be okay to you?
No.
Okay, great. So now you're going back to name the trait, which you have not.
I've given you the trait.
No, you have not.
Yes, I gave you the trait that's different between humans and non-humans. Humans are part of a species in which meets a particular threshold of rationality. Yeah. I've told you that many times, Mike.
And then I countered by showing you that you value humans no matter their rationality level, right? So even if a person was disabled mentally, you would still value them.
Because I value the species based upon them meeting a particular threshold of rationality.
Great. So if we found out tomorrow that some people were not the human species, would you slaughter them?
They wouldn't be people, right? And I would value that species because they're rational.
Okay, great. So if there is a mentally challenged being who is just like me with green skin, would you slaughter that person, that being?
No, I can grant them particularly value, right? Because I can grant their species value on the basis of the fact that they meet a particular threshold of rationality. If they are part of a different species, right? If it's a part of a different species, well, then we're talking about something completely different. If we're saying someone transformed, right, if we're going to say someone transformed from being a human to being non-human, I still grant them value because they were previously at that particular point. Right, I can grant that. Right, if it were like a completely different species from inception, appreciate the galaxy. Thank you so much. If they don't meet these particular characteristics, they wouldn't be granted as much value.
Okay, great. So imagine if we had like a DNA detector or something, and one day you would use it on beings. Imagine like one day we used this DNA detector and we found out that like it beeped whenever somebody was not a human species. One day it started just beeping at me or something, right? Beep, beep, beep. Mike's not human. Would you then put me in the gas chamber and slaughter me?
No, Mike, because you're rational. No, Mike, because I know you're human.
What if I was not rational? Like, what if I wasn't
I know
rational?
you're human, and it is the case that you're rational.
Okay, what if I wasn't rational and I was a non-human?
I know that you're human.
But the detector in this hypothetical scenario detected I was not human.
So like we had DNA come back that you weren't human.
Yeah. Would you slaughter me?
Appreciate that you're amazing. Thank you so much. What species were they a part of?
Would you put me in a gas chamber?
Appreciate the money again. Thank you so much. What species are you a part of? If you're not rational, if you're not rational, you never were human.
I'd be
right?
another species. Yeah.
Wait, Mike, were you ever human?
No, doesn't matter.
It's not you, Mike. Then this isn't you. Why are you portraying it as if it's you? If they're not human, if they don't have your subjective experience, if nothing is the same.
Yeah. Do you know what hypotheticals are?
That's not you then. Mike, hypotheticals have to be logically consistent. This is not a logically consistent hypothetical.
Where is the inconsistency in my hypothetical here?
Because you're saying that it's you and not you simultaneously.
No, I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying it's
who are you, Mike? Tell me what you are.
Look, this is the point.
No. When you define who Mike is, tell me what it is.
Stop, bro. If there was a being who looked just like me, okay, is that better for you? And was not human and was not rational, would you put them in a gas chamber?
So they look exactly like you. They're non-human, non-rational. They're sentient, and they never were rational, never were human.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't put you in a gas chamber because of aesthetic preferences.
Okay,
because you look typically human.
Great. So what you're saying is there's something.
And also, I don't put rocks in gas chambers. Like, as where you just put it in a gas chamber if you don't value it as much. Doesn't make any sense because I don't value rocks as much. Yet I wouldn't throw them in gas chambers.
Okay, great. So then your entire view hinges upon the notion that there's something physically attractive to you that makes you not want to harm me, right? And versus put me in a gas chamber. So what exactly is the cutoff there? We already talked about this, but you said I don't know the cutoff. So where's the cutoff?
Mike, we already showed you that. What is the cutoff?
No, Parker, please listen. Where's the cutoff in a person who looks sufficiently enough to not harm?
Okay, Mike, we have already gone over in this conversation. We can't identify cutoffs in this type of way. We can talk in typicals. Like, again, when does it become a mountain and when is it not a mountain? Right? There's going to be a cutoff point in which is extraordinarily arbitrary and dependent upon the context of the scenario of me comparing a particular data set. Right? Let me finish. I see something, I indicate whether or not it particularly meets this criteria. Otherwise, right, we don't necessarily have people to identify a specific cutoff point. The same way that when you're a threshold, Mike, please stop talking. Mike, when you're a threshold deontologist, right, you don't know the specific cutoff point for each different rule or principle.
But we weigh the utility. You are not weighing the utility. But
as a threshold deontologist, the weighing of the utility is an arbitrary standpoint.
Yeah, but it's based on
Mike. There you go. You just conceded. You don't know what the cutoff point is until you have a specific circumstance.
It's weighed on empirics.
Mike, you just conceded by being a threshold deontologist.
Your entire view hinges upon the notion that there's something physical about me that allows you to not harm me. So where is your cutoff there?
Mike, you don't know what the cutoff is as it relates to threshold deontology. I could ask you the exact same questions related to deontology as it relates to mountains, as it relates to almost anything. Most things we don't know the exact specific cutoff unless we're given a particular scenario and we can identify the differences in them.
Okay, it's great. So what's the physical trait then that distinguishes a non-human from a human that justifies slaughtering the non-human?
They're a part of a species in which is threshold rationality.
Okay, what if they're disabled?
Again, and that's in conjunction with sentience, by the way.
You're not following the line of reasoning here, right? Okay. You're just pivoting. You're not really understanding what I'm telling you.
What am I not understanding?
Look, a race to rationality. We agree that we both agree that rationality is irrelevant to valuing somebody in terms of their moral ethics. You're talking about species, and you're saying that there's a difference between a non-human and a human aesthetically. So what exactly is that trait that distinguishes aesthetically a non-human from a human that would justify or warrant slaughtering those beings?
Yeah, again, we don't know the specific standpoint in which there is a cutoff. Similarly to you don't know that as it relates to your threshold ontology, as it relates to mountains. Mike, I don't know how many times we have to go over the exact same thing where it doesn't know where specifically the cutoff is unless we have particular circumstances where we can compare and contrast.
Right, but it could be like a eye color or hair color or skin color. Could that be it?
No.
My organ type?
No.
Could it be my like brain type? Could it be my finger type?
No, not as it relates to humans. If you're talking
Could it
type
be
of
my,
human.
could it be like my nose type?
No, because we're talking type of humans.
Okay. So could it be my foot type?
Like, can I give you a difference? Like,
Could it be
let's
my
say,
foot type? Could it be my knee type?
I like how you're still trying to hit the particular cutoff point, which we've already gone over that, Mike, multiple times. Well, it's too small for you, Mike. So again, if we want to talk about this, we can determine this based upon DNA.
Okay, great. So what genetic material would be sufficient enough to put somebody in a gas chamber?
Again, right, I just told you human DNA, right, along with the context in which they are sentient,
what exact gene would allow you to put someone in a gas chamber?
Human DNA. What is human DNA? Mike, what is here? I can ask you this question. What is the point where human DNA becomes non-human?
How are you not understanding this?
Right? What point does human DNA become non-human DNA?
What's the gene?
At what point does human DNA become non-human DNA?
There are many different types of genes, but
give me a specific gene.
I'm asking you.
Mike, give me a specific gene right now.
Parker, I'm asking you.
Wait, I'm asking you for the cutoff point. What is the cutoff point between a human and a non-human as it relates to the genes?
I don't have your position.
Wait, no, but you say that there are differences between humans and non-humans on the basis of DNA. You already agree with that.
I think there is no difference. I think there is no.
You think that so you could call a dog a human?
No, I said.
Okay, so what is the difference between these characteristics, dog and human?
Dude, let me speak and explain myself.
Mike, tell me the differences between dog and human.
What I'm saying is that there is no gene, in my view, that would justify putting someone in a gas chamber. To you, you're
not answering my question. What's the difference between a dog and a human?
You gotta let me speak, bro. I'm sorry.
If you answer my question, Mike.
Bro, you gotta let me speak.
Mike, I'm telling you, if you don't answer my question, I'm not going to let you speak because you can't answer this right now. At what point is a human a dog, or at what point is a human a non-human?
There are specific genes, of course.
Tell me the genes.
There are many. I don't know the exact names.
Oh, okay. So you don't know the exact cutoff point, yet you still think it's reasonable for you to say that there's a difference. Mike, you just did the exact same thing. You said it didn't make sense for me to do.
That's not the point. I know you don't know the fucking genes. I know you don't know much about science.
I don't know the genes.
Okay, great. Exactly. But the problem,
Mike, you don't know much about economics.
Can you please let me speak? Okay. The problem remains that to you, there's a particular genetic code or a particular molecule that justifies putting someone in a gas chamber versus not. Do you see the problem here?
Again, it is the basis of, again, the reason. And again, I never said that it's okay to put pigs in fucking gas chambers. I said I don't know.
Okay, great. So if you don't know, then you have no justification.
Okay, I'm not saying I have a justification or not. Like, for example, I don't have a justification
That's why we're debating this fucking topic.
I can give you an example.
This is why we're debating this topic. And the fact...
No. Like, let me give you an example. I don't have a justification for, like, say, walking, like, 10 steps, right?
That's not what I'm asking you. Look, I'm asking you...
I wouldn't be like, oh, I have to justify me walking these 10 steps before I do it, right? I would be like, I'm going to do these steps until I have reason to consider it wrong.
Parker, your entire view hinges on the notion that there is a specific genetic material that justifies or warrants your slaughtering an animal. That's
again, I don't consider it justified. Right? I'm not doing that.
Then give the justification, and you're going to say,
"Wait, what justify?" I'm not arguing that.
Okay, great. So if you don't know, right? You're going to say, "I don't know." Then why the fuck are we debating? You're just going to say, "I don't know" the whole time.
I didn't say I don't know the whole time. I gave you answers with basically everything. I gave you I don't know as it relates to one or two questions.
Look, the entire point of this debate is that you are harming animals on an extraordinary scale.
Wait, no, Mike. I want to make one point before you say this. Right? When you say I don't know as it relates to why the universe came here, right? The theist could say the same thing to you. If you're just going to say I don't know in this entire conversation, right? Then how are we going to have any conversation? Why are you going live every single day to debate theists? Right? Like that makes no sense, right? Obviously, you can have an I don't know to one question, and then you can know as it relates to plenty of others.
Right, but the problem is that you are doing an action without justification. That's the contention in this debate here. I'm asking you.
Mike, I already responded to that.
Look, I'm challenging you on your view, and it seems like all you're going to tell me is I don't know. That means you don't have a justification for harming those animals. So, what's the gene that justifies slaughtering an animal or a being? What's the gene there?
Again, it's not just the gene. I just gave you many things. That's how you identify that an individual is human. The same way that you have a particular gene. I can ask you what gene identifies a human is a human and a non-human is not a human. Okay, I can ask you the same question because it's predicated off the exact same evolutionary facts.
I'm sorry, you're just not getting the line of reasoning here. forget all those other rationality views, right? It doesn't matter. You agreed before that rationality is irrelevant. What is relevant here is the species, because no matter how rational somebody is, you would still not harm them. So I'm asking you, what exactly about their DNA justifies putting them in a gas chamber?
Mike, I never said it was justified to put pigs in gas chambers. Secondly, Mike, stop strawmanning me, by the way. Secondly, Mike, let me finish. Secondly, Mike, right, I have already told you, right, in the same way that you see that there's a difference between humans and non-humans as it relates to DNA, the same way there's a difference between non-humans and humans as it relates to identifying that an individual is human, to then say that humans, because they meet a particular threshold of rationality, are going to be granted more value, sentient humans, than other types of sentient beings. I'm not saying I don't grant value to other types of sentient beings. I'm just saying I don't grant the same level of value.
I agree. That's it, but that's not relevant. That's not relevant, right? What's relevant here is you're saying, like, when it comes down to it, it's species that allows you to kill and slaughter and rape animals. So I'm asking you, what gene?
Again, I told you I don't know. Mike, I did not say it was okay to do this.
What gene allows you to rape an animal?
Mike, I told you I don't. I don't think it's. I'm not saying I think it's okay or good to grape and murder animals, right? Or kill animals, whatever definition you want to use. I'm not saying that. Let me finish.
So then, are you saying that
Mike, stop cutting me off. Right?
Are you saying,
Mike, what is going on, man?
You're saying you're not willing to be pressed on this issue?
No, I'm willing to be pressed. I just don't have a position as it relates to this.
So then go ahead. I'm pressing you. What is the gene that justifies putting an animal in a gas chamber?
Mike, I don't believe that I don't think it's okay to put pigs in gas chambers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't have a reason to consider it wrong.
Okay. Now we're going to go back to square one, right? Do you think it's wrong to kill a person? Yes. Do you think blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, and we already named the trait, and I named the trait multiple times. Mike, I don't know why you keep going back to this.
We're going to go back here because you don't have an answer.
I gave you an answer multiple times.
All you're saying is, I don't know the gene, right? Is that
No. The descriptive claim of whether or not they're human is we don't agree with that, Mike. You don't dispute that, okay? If you don't dispute that, well, then you have no position here for saying that they're like not a human or something like that, okay? Right? Yeah. Really, the only question here that I would have to justify is the reason, right, I grant more value to humans rather than non-humans. Not how I identify them as a human, but the reason I grant them humans over non-humans. Appreciate the Corgi think he's not.
Look, being vegan doesn't mean you don't value humans or you value them the same as humans. I value.
Oh, Mike, I never said that. I've actually clarified multiple times. You do not have to hold this view as a vegan. I said this on the vegan teacher debate. I said this plenty of times.
Nobody fucking agrees with that. Like, not even the vegan teacher thinks that. Okay.
So, actually, she was kind of holding pretty similar stuff to it, but not fully that.
No, she wasn't. More importantly, though,
it was very similar. She literally said it was worse for 1 year of factory farming comparative to the entirety of slavery in the Holocaust.
Okay. So now, do you agree that if I were to tell you to harm somebody or grape them or, whatever, because they have a specific gene in them, would that be okay to you? Would that be a good justification for graping somebody?
That's not the because, by the way.
Oh, then
the because.
What's the because?
The because right? they have this trait of being human, and the because is because they're a part of a species in which meets this threshold of rationality. That is the reason. I don't know how many more times I have to give you this reason, Mike.
Look. If there is a being who had no rationality but they were human, would you slaughter them? Would that be okay?
No, it would not be okay because they're sentient, right? And they're a part of the human species. So the human species and them being sentient is granted because, right, the human species is meets a particular threshold of rationality. So again, right, I am not granting it because simply only because of the gene. The gene specifically indicates that they're human, and then because they're human, I have a reason that species meets a particular threshold of rationality. I don't know how many more times I have to go over this.
Great. So now what you're saying is you agree with me that no matter how rational somebody is, you would not harm them. So it comes down to species again. So what is...
No, it's a conjunction. I just told you it's a conjunction, Mike.
I know it's a conjunction, but we could just separate...
So it doesn't just come down to that. So you're misrepresenting me. You're strawmanning me intentionally then.
No, look, I literally told you. I really deduced this. Like, I showed you that just because somebody is rational, no matter how rationality they had, you still wouldn't think it's okay to harm them. So rationality is just irrelevant here. What's relevant, the relevant distinction is being a Homo sapien, right?
The relevant difference is, again, I appreciate the Forever Rose. Thank you so much. Right? It is literally both. It is both them being a part of the human species because the species meets the threshold of rationality, and also rationality, right, is a part of the whole valuing of humans, right?
Okay,
because
so-
the species meets the threshold of rationality. I don't know how many more times I have to say it. Like, is this not clear to you, Mike? I don't know why this is hard.
It's clear to me that way, but it's not clear when you say that there's something about the species that justifies harming somebody, right? It seems like when it comes down to it, you're saying that if there is a species who is not rational.
Actually, Mike, that's not what I said. I didn't say it justifies harming them. What I said is that grants different value. That's all I said, Mike.
I didn't finish yet. So
yeah, Mike, you misrepresent my view for the 19th time on this debate. I just was fixing that.
Yeah. So what you're essentially saying here is if there is another species, if there's a species of humans that had the same rationality, you would not harm them. But if there's a species who is not rational, let's say that they were mentally challenged, right? They just like me, you would still think that's okay to harm them.
So they're not human. They look like us, and they aren't rational.
Right.
I grant that on aesthetic reasons. But they're not granted the same,
so then what it comes
same
down,
value as like me or you.
So then the crux of it comes down to...
the hanging lights, thank you so much.
Then the crux of this comes down to you think it's okay to slaughter animals and harm them because they look different from humans.
No, that's not the view. I said...
What's your view, bro?
I've clarified multiple times the difference between humans and non-humans is that their species meets a particular threshold of rationality. Appreciate the handout. Thank you so much. So it's the sentience plus the meets the threshold of rationality. If you're bringing up other circumstances, I can have different standards of values. Okay? Does that make sense?
You did not answer my question. I don't know why this is so difficult for you. I already explained to you that rationality is relevant. It comes down to aesthetics. You just told me it's not.
No.
Okay, but you just agreed that no matter how rational they were, you would still not harm that being who was like a human.
Sorry, say that one more time.
You agreed to me just now that if no matter how rational somebody was, if they were a human, you will still not harm them.
No, yeah, because again, it's the conjunction, right? Because the species is what's granted it due to the species having a trait that indicates that a particular threshold of them are rational.
Exactly, it's the species.
The species is granted that due to this reason. That's what you're not understanding, Mike. How many more times do I have to explain the same view?
Because you're not really answering properly.
Mike, I promise you I'm answering it.
What you're saying here is that you get to harm an animal because of the aesthetic value they have, right? Essentially.
Again, I'm not arguing that it's okay to even harm animals right now. I already told you as it relates to, like, is it okay to kill an animal, right? I don't know. I've told you that multiple times.
Okay, but you think it's wrong to kill a person who's an animal?
Oh, well, we're talking, when I said animal there, I was meaning non-human, but yeah.
Okay, great. Now, if you can't point out the distinction, then your ethical framework is garbage.
I did multiple times, Mike.
Okay, great.
And I named the trait already multiple times.
The problem is, when it comes down to it, you're saying it's aesthetic value. I'm asking you for
from
what...
From the other species and this one.
Yes, I'm asking you now, what particular trait...
What goes from I don't know to know? Well, because they look typically human.
Right. So you're saying if they look human, you get to save them. They don't look human, you get to put them in a gas chamber.
If they look human, right? If they look typically human, right, and they are sentient, right, I am going to grant a greater level of value. Yes.
Okay. So again, where's your cutoff here, right? Like, where's the aesthetic cutoff?
You keep asking I don't know what I do. Again, it's the same type of cutoff scenario as you describing the difference between a human and a non-human. Okay? Mike, that's literally the same difference.
You're not elaborating as to like what is that?
Because I've already given you the morally relevant distinction. You're now asking for like the descriptive difference between the two.
Like I already asked you, like, is it like the skin color? Is it the eye color?
No, it's not those things. I just told you. It's again whether or not they look typically human.
So then what's the aesthetic trait?
Again, it's whether or not they look typically human, right? If you're asking what a typical human looks like, I can tell you.
I know you can tell me what a human looks like. I'm asking you, like, what's the cutoff between human and non-human aesthetically?
Mike, you're not asking. I've answered this how many times, right? How many times do I have to answer the same question?
You're just saying.
I've answered it plenty of times. It is the exact same. Yes. I appreciate the little comment. Thank you so much. It's the exact same as asking me what the difference is between a human and a non-human in a descriptive sense.
Okay, great.
All you're asking is for the descriptive distinction aesthetically. Okay. And you have descriptive distinctions aesthetically as well.
Okay, great. So what you're saying is aesthetically, there could be some trait such as, hair color or skin color or skin type that would justify harming a being. It could be, right?
Again, I'm not saying skin type. I'm not saying skin color. I'm not saying hair color, right?
But
I'm saying whether or not they look typically human. If
right?
you said you already know the typical humans, none of those traits that were qualifying. Because again, humans will have differing traits as it relates to those.
Right. So I'm asking you to where the cutoff is. I'm trying to gauge where that is. I'm trying to press you on this, right? Like, what particular trait? Could it be maybe size of feet? Like how many arms they have? Would that be the point where you get to slaughter somebody?
Again, I never argue that it's okay to slaughter, right, an animal. I've clarified that many times. I don't know what you're asking at this point. I've already answered this, right? I told you we don't know the cutoff point specifically. And I can ask you the same question, Mike. Let me give you another example. What's the morally relevant difference between different types of insects and between animals that justifies the differences in values that you base between the two?
Values are relevant to the ethics of veganism.
No, I'm just asking you what the relevant difference, because again, we're describing this so that you understand when you keep asking me for this cutoff that it's not really a good question, because I'm specifically showing you here in this particular example how you won't be able to show it, yet you still have these different types of reasonable notions.
Yeah. So again, you're not really showing me where exactly the difference is. I don't know why you can't.
Can you answer my question, Mike? Stop being disingenuous, please, and answer my question. I've answered that like 15, 20 times. That's useful so you can understand how I'm relating to this question.
Yeah. The problem is, you agree with me before that if somebody were to grape somebody else and they said, I don't know why I did this, right? I did it, but I don't know what justifies it. I think that would be a bad reason.
Yeah, they don't have good justification. I appreciate the handout. Thank you so much. Because I have reason to believe that is wrong. What is your reason, Mike?
No, you're not. Just like analogously speaking, you have no reason. You are not giving a reason for what justifies harming those animals. Your actions.
Because I told you, right? I don't know as it relates to that. How many more times do
for doing that?
Because I'm not providing a justification, right? I said I don't know. Do you understand what saying I don't know means?
I do, and that's the problem, right? If I say, "Oh, I just raped somebody," I don't know why, but it was
I can give you a reason why it's wrong. Can you give me the reason?
Why harming an animal is wrong?
As it relates to other types of ethical models, because the reason I actually identified you, hold on, let me finish. The reason I pushed you down to was that you then base it upon what's considered an excessive level, because it wasn't based upon the necessary standpoint. And if it's based upon what's an excessive level, well, that's just going to be an intuitive distinction between you and between a non-vegan, right? Which is not a reason. That's an intuitive distinction.
Yeah. So again, you haven't shown the distinction between animals and I'm not.
Mike, I mean, are you just incapable of reasoning, Mike?
You're saying I don't know, and this is not a
Mike. I've given you responses to this multiple times.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have, Mike.
No, because all you're saying is I don't know, but that would not be a good justification.
What's your reason for justifying eating plants?
They're not sentient.
Okay, they're not sentient. Well, they're not part of a species which meets a particular threshold of rationality. Couldn't someone say the same thing? Again, I'm not saying that, but couldn't someone say the same thing?
Right. The difference is I have a justification. You are not giving that justification for harming a being.
Because I don't know.
Okay.
As it relates to that view, I don't know.
No. But
I'm simply not convinced that I should be.
Exactly. Right? You don't know. That's why we're here to debate this topic. Right? Imagine if I went to a theistic discussion and said, I don't know.
You say that about where the universe came from all the time, and you don't see it as an issue.
No, imagine if that was my entire argument. I don't know.
That isn't my entire argument.
Yes, it is.
Mike, respectfully, we've been having a conversation for an hour and 40 minutes, right? And we've had plenty of conversations about things that I've given you answers to. There have been literally 2 or 3 questions that I've given you an I don't know response to, and that is the same as it relates to atheist conversations, right? I will say I don't know to a few questions as it relates to the conversations that theists might pose to me. Yet I still think I'm acting reasonably against theists. Similarly, I think I'm acting reasonably here, even though I might not have knowledge of why I consider this wrong.
Right. The problem is,
if you could give me a reason, though, I'll be vegan.
The problem is that there's such a stark, like when asked you, is it wrong to rape a person? You said, yes, it's wrong. Like, there's just such
yes, because I have reasons for this.
Hold on. There's such a stark contrast between you saying it to humans versus non-human. I'm pressing you on this issue, and it seems like you're saying, I don't know. And to me, with all the net utility that can be increased by being vegan, that you're not willing to even listen to. Like, I haven't even talked about the environmental reasons, the antibiotic resistance reasons, the economic reasons, since you love economy, right? We can talk about the economic benefits. $1 trillion net positive if we all want to be smart in the next case. Societal reasons, all right?
How do you qualify that?
Changing how... We have lots of empirics for this.
Name the study.
Sure. Other evidence shows, so for example, this one says the analysis and evaluation of the health and climate change co-benefits of dietary changes. This shows that vegan diets could save us.
No, the $1 trillion one. What was the $1 trillion?
Yeah, that's it.
The title is what?
Analysis and evaluation of the health and climate change co-benefits of dietary change.
And wait, analysis and what?
Evaluation of the health and climate change co-benefits of dietary change.
Health and climate change. Climate change what?
Co-benefits of dietary change.
Dietary change. And where does it say the specific $1 trillion point?
Yeah, it says vegan diets could save $700 billion to $1 trillion per year by 2050. This is on page 40. It's on page. I'm trying to look for it. I'm just looking at it today.
Okay, so this isn't for the U.S.
Yeah, well, it is for the U.S. It's for any country. Like, the point is that the food system would change. So
we can save $1 trillion by 2050
per year. Yeah, by because of the health benefits.
It does not say per year.
It does.
Read where?
Let me find you the exact.
And also it says.
So it's on page.
Good.
It's on page 4148, top right.
Full text links. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So
you said what page?
4148. It's the second. It's the third page, top right column.
41. There's 6 pages.
Top right column.
Third page, top right column.
Yeah. So it says greater savings occur with the adoption of vegetarian diets. That's 900 billion. 600 billion to 1 trillion.
Western high income. How much is it?
What?
How much is it in Western high income? And Western middle income?
It's just a GDP, total GDP. So again, like vegan diets would save about $1 trillion or 700 billion to 1.4 trillion dollars per year by 2050.
And that's not talking in everywhere. So what does the left graph say? Two graphs. What does the left one say?
Yeah. So again, they did it on the world. It says the world, development countries, high income countries, Western, Middle, Latin America, Sub-Sahara, all those. There would still be lots of savings. So from 700 billion to 1.4 trillion, depending on the country.
So this is change in emissions, not in terms of economics.
No, it's GDP.
It says emissions. If you read the side of it, if you read the y-axis, it is literally change in GHG emissions.
That's not what I'm looking. That's not what I'm looking at.
I'm on the third page at the top right, looking at the graph.
You're not looking at the column. Look, so go into the wording document.
And what column is that?
See the column where it says using the cost of illness approach. You see that part?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. Yeah, go down like a couple paragraphs and you'll see what I'm talking about.
It says moving to the diets based on dietary guidelines from the HGD. What's the HGD? The healthy eating and energy intake. That has nothing to do with vegetarian.
No, it does. It says recommended diet.
The VGN diets are down here. So in the VGT diets. So I'll tell you, VGT, Let me see. This is from HGD that says 735 billion. So comparing the HGD to the VGD is much of a difference. Greater savings occur with the adoption of vegetarian diets, 973 billion, range 644 billion to around 13,000 billion, and vegan diets 1,000 billion, range to is 700 to 1,428 billion. As the percentage of expected world gross domestic product in 2050. Hold up, these savings amounts to 2.3%, 1.5 to 3.1% for HGD diets, and for vegetarian diets, it's from 2 to 4%.
Yeah, that's
so the
veganism. Okay.
No, so if you hold up, Mike, you're not letting me fully explain this data. Okay, so if you want to talk about the context of, and actually, by the way, I do just want to say this. I actually do think the climate argument is a better argument than the other things you have. So you'll find a lot more argumentation, me agreeing here, because I agree in terms of systems you should change. But I wouldn't say individually it would be wrong for them. But this would be like, as a system, we should adopt a vegan model. This is different than saying whether or not on an individual standpoint you should do this.
This is just one of many.
Two, no, like for example, like as it relates to the climate crisis, right? I wouldn't necessarily stop driving gas car right now. As a system, we would change. So it would be similar to that, but it's not like I have to stop eating this right now. Secondly, if you want to talk about this, the expected value specifically as it relates to this is, I think, increases by like, what is it? Okay, so it's 2.3% for one, and then it's 3.3% for the vegan diets. So there's a difference in about 1%, right? So that difference is about how many $1 billion? That's about $200 billion in expected values across listen, Mike, across the entire world. Okay, so this isn't just in the U.S. This isn't just in one country. This is across the entire world. We're talking 200 to 300 billion dollars across the entire world.
No, it doesn't. Where does it say entire world? It says USD.
Yeah, but that's the in terms of dollars.
Yeah, dude. What does it say the world?
Dude, it's in terms of dollars, right? That's saying USD dollars. USD is in dollars.
It should be per country.
No, it's not. Let's say per country. Show me where, because this is an evaluation of literally the entire world. That's why it has qualifications. I mean, in the graph above about the world, it's talking about the world. So if you're going to save $300 billion across the entire world, well, there are plenty of other things that we could do that could save hundreds of billions of dollars, way more than this, right? Trillions of dollars, right? That don't relate to the context of veganism.
Yeah. So the problem is,
Mike, I just want to say, I think it is really lagging bad. I don't know how to fix this, but we could hit a restart. Yeah. It's up to you. Because it's like completely frozen, I think, on my screen.
Start. Yeah.
Yeah, we can try that. All right, I'll see you in a second. All right, everyone, we're restarting. Wait, does it fix it now? When I go out of this, does it fix it? It could just be having them on. Is it good now? Out of the app first. Do you hear me now? Chat, do y'all hear me now? Okay, yeah, I just had to restart the app. Mike, send a guest request back, man. Here, I'll just invite him. It should be fine now. All right, it should be fine now.
Okay. Yeah, so the point is, it says here in the column right before it, it's region-specific data.
I got lag again. Can I restart?
Yeah.
I apologize, man. I don't mean to do this. I wanted to finish this. All right, y'all. I'll be right back, everyone. I'm restarting the live. Give me 1 second, everyone. Give me 1 second.